Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any public comment at this time? Okay, being none, verification of posting of agenda.
Crystal Machado, for the record, the agenda was posted on the 23rd of April between the hours of 1 and 5 at all the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Okay, thank you. Consideration and possible action approval of agenda as submitted or revised.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? There being none, we have a first and second motion to approve the agenda as submitted or revised. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. Consideration and possible action, approval of minutes of the meeting held on March 5th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting on that date. Did you say January?
Said March.
March 5th, 2025, sorry.
I second.
Any further discussion? There being none, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the meeting held on March 5th, 2025. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. First item, consider and possible action petition filed by Cody Knight for a hunting hound permit to be implemented in Nevada for hunting with dogs for mountain lion, bobcat, and black bear.
I'm sure there's some public that should speak first.
Any public comments on that petition?
I'm not quite sure how this works. After he puts his, and do we talk about what you agree or disagree, or how's it work?
Yeah,
I wait till he's done and I agree or disagree?
yeah.
Okay.
You want to come up?
Come up here and
Turn on the microphone.
state your name.
Cody Knight, for the record. All right, so the Nevada Hound Hunter permit has been in the works for about a year now. A group of us have been putting together what we think would be best for houndsmen. Again, this is an anti-hunter that's putting this together. It's a bunch of sportsmen and houndsmen. So, if you want next one. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with how the Idaho Hound Permit works. So initially in the 90s, they started with 40 hound permits. Anyone pursuing bear or lion has to draw a permit as a non-resident. There's no limit on residents. So this has made it tough on the northern border. It's real easy for Idaho guys to come back and forth, whereas Nevada houndsmen, let's say in Jarbidge or any of the Bruno River, cannot go across the Idaho border. So you see a large influx of houndsmen my entire life up on the northern border. So what's really fueled this is since Utah's changed their lion season, so now it's considered the same as a coyote. Though the Idaho hounds or Utah houndsmen are starting to run low on lions to be able to run. So they're coming over on the eastern border, quite a few of them, and are not only outnumbering our resident houndsmen, and this is mainly during the snow season. And what we're trying to do is make it fair for the Nevada residents while still maintaining a good image as far as a houndsman. So what we want to do is create non-resident zones. Originally, I was thinking 3. It might be easiest to just stick with our 5 lion zones now. But the problem is everyone wants to hunt the good conditions. So we need a tool that's going to force non-residents to come over here. Because in this area, you don't really see too many non-resident houndsmen, but you do see a fair amount of houndsmen from California running bear during bear season. So what we're proposing is mirroring the lion season, February to March. All hunters have to have a hound permit to pursue bear, lion, or bobcat, so we would leave bobcat for resident only. The hound permit, we're proposing $30 over the counter, no limit on the number of resident hound permits. 2 lion tags per season. We would like to cut the non-residents down to 1 lion tag per season, because currently right now, as a houndsman, we're only allowed 2 lion tags. So if you're by yourself, you're not able to run your dogs without a valid tag. So we feel if once that person kills their lion, then technically they aren't going to be able to run. So that's going to lighten up some of the pressure on the eastern side of the border. And one thing we would like to change is the permit holders at the end of the year have to fill out some type of harvest and pursuit report, because right now we only have to fill out a harvest report if we actually kill something. So a lot of us do catch lions and let them go. So this could be some data that could be beneficial for the biologists. And this is also going to differentiate how many houndsmen are actually purchasing lion tags in Nevada. So anyone, the way that we want it written, and again, our petition, the wording that's submitted is not perfect, so we do ask that we get some help on this. So we want anyone that has a lion or bear tag to be in possession of a license and a valid tag, because right now there's a bit of a loophole for houndsmen in Nevada. So you're only required 1 lion tag per truck right now. So technically you can have as many guys that can fit in the truck still bring their dogs. They can still have their dogs collar GPS, which would be considered pursuing. But as long as there's a valid tag holder within the truck, they are not required to buy a hunting license or a lion tag. So we feel that is something that should be fixed. So a bear tag holder is still able to purchase the hound permit. And then, so if a non-resident draws the bear tag, there's only 5 of them. You'll have the option to skip the draws, so that way you can still use dogs for your hunt. And we don't want to cut out the people that still want to help out someone that's a bear tag holder. So as long as you're within close proximity of the tag holder, so tag holder right there, you can turn your dogs out. Legally, that's how it's written right now. And so some of the guide regulations that we're recommending is master guides will be required to have a hound permit, and the hound hunter permits are non-transferable. So just as a master guide, you're going to have to, in addition to what you currently have to carry right now, which is your valid contract, BLM, and forest permits, you would be required to have that hound permit with you. So sub-guides would also be required to have a hound permit. And some of the confusion in our wording is the way we have it written right now, we would like to fix that wording, because we still want the non-residents to be able to purchase a sub-guide hound permit, but the only stipulations we want is so that the sub-guides have to have a valid client with them. That way we don't see just a huge influx of non-resident sub-guides coming over, because we do have some sub-guides that help out locally. And so also, once this is implemented, we are spending a lot of money right now on government trappers in areas to manage lions for some of these overpopulated units. So we feel that it would be beneficial to, let's say in central Nevada or even out by Middlegate, some of the sheep units, not a ton of us hunt. So why don't we force guys to go into certain areas? And even up by Gerlach, let's force them to go up there when you guys are trying to remove lions. Because right now, we only have 2 lion tags, and from what I understand, it would be hard for us to get more tags. But if you're forcing more non-residents into a certain area, I feel that that would be beneficial to help cut down on some of the money that you guys are having to spend right now for lion removal. And typically, those areas are a lot harder to hunt, but in Utah and Arizona, we do have a lot of really good dry ground lion hunters that would be willing to come over and do something like that. And this would be, again, creating, originally we were thinking 3 zones, but it might be better to break it up into 5. And also, this proposal, I've brought it up in the department, and so it would also help with enforcement of being able to track our houndsmen better. And granted, we all don't want to carry another piece of paper around, but ideally, from what we're seeing on the northern and eastern side of the state, for the number of non-residents that are coming over, we feel we have to implement something. A lot of us spend, over 100 days a year in the field, sometimes 200 for some of these guys that are seeing this stuff happening. So as houndsmen, instead of just hiding out in the shadows like most of us do, we want to stay ahead of what we're seeing happening. And so this would generate more revenue for you guys. So if we just did the 40 hound permits, it'd be $20,000 in just the permits, $6,200 in license fees, and $4,160 from non-resident lion tags. And really, Nevada hasn't really done a ton of mountain lion research, so we feel that would also help fund some of the research in aging data. But also, if there were a couple areas, even if they were during the winter for more lion check-ins, there's certain parts of the state that might be a 4 or 5 hour drive to go and check in a lion. So if there was some way that we could figure out more check-ins, that would be awesome. And so the way Idaho does it right now is 70 non-resident permits through a draw for about $300. If you are a non-resident guide, you cannot use it for personal use. It's only valid for the permit holder. And so last year, I just got this data in, there was 584 non-resident applications for the draw. And the number of non-resident permits sold, because in the Selway, which is the northern part, they do offer more permits for up there. It's 142. And so in 2024, they sold 4,677 permits, including non-resident. But again, they have more opportunity for game as far as the number of bear permits, bear tags that are put out. Montana has 80 permits through a draw right now. And I spoke to the houndsman up there that originally started this hound permit for up there, and they were seeing the same thing. Once Idaho implemented theirs, then they even had more people. So this is just about preventing us being overrun by the non-residents, but also giving the department a tool where we can force guys to go to new areas. And so Wyoming has a pursuit permit, but that's only valid for residents. But they also have unit quotas. So once the unit quota shuts down, then it's valid for residents to still pursue game. And so some of the data that we do have, it looks good that there's 631 tags sold in 22 for lion tags, but we don't actually know the number of houndsmen that are purchasing that. So even if we want to start with fixing that, that would be a good data point for us to be able to figure out how many houndsmen come to the state while forcing them to buy, at least buy a license and a tag. And then so the 10-year average is 104 for residents, 52 non-residents. And that's why we set on 40. We feel that anyone that's going to draw that permit, they're going to come harvest a lion. And so what's a little bit concerning is in the 23-24 season, it was about 40% of the harvest was non-resident, and some of that does include guides. So we still want to stay ahead of it for the number of houndsmen we do see, because a lot of you still have houndsmen on the mountain that are still catching and releasing, but it's especially in White Pine, that area is getting pretty loaded with Utah guys. And so what we're asking is to be able to present this to the commission. We've been going around to as many of the cabs as we can. I think we're at about 10 yeses so far throughout the different counties. And once we can get this approved, hopefully, then we can get the wording correct and work with the department to figure out the exact number and what zones and exactly how we should implement this program. And that's everything I have.
Anybody else have any comments on it?
Can we ask you? The establishment of fees and license requirement, do you see that as having to go to the legislature? It's beyond the department's authority.
Yeah, so it's, from when I spoke to Jake about this, it's similar as a SWAM permit, so it's a hound permit, so it's easy, fairly easy for the department to,
So it is a permit?
yep.
Okay.
And so it's not an NRS code we have to change.
Now, do all members of the hunting party have to have this permit, or just a guide? Or a sub-guide?
So guides, if you're a guide or a sub-guide, you're required to have one, but your client is not required to have to draw one. So that doesn't
Okay,
affect their
all right.
business.
The client does not need,
No.
No, we're not going to force a client to purchase a
so
hound
it's
permit.
strictly, okay, what about an individual not having a guide? He's just,
Yep.
he and his family are out. Do all of them need? a permit?
Anyone that would be handling the dogs is the way that Idaho has it written, and we feel that's a good spot to follow. So, so anyone that is going to be helping pursue, handling the dogs, Idaho requires that they do have a hound permit. So it's not just one per vehicle, if that makes sense. And so that includes also, if you aren't a guide, then just myself not guiding, I would need one too.
So I'm a little curious because some of our units, predation is a big issue, lions specifically. My biggest concern is, are we going to dissuade people from pursuing lions by doing this when really what we should be doing is promoting the taking of lions because they are devastating some of our herds. So I guess what's the thought process behind that?
As far as numbers in the snow units, I feel comfortable that we have enough resident houndsmen to be able to keep up with the number of non-resident keels. But what we really need to focus on is forcing guys to go to new areas. So even around here or up by Gerlach, we could offer more non-resident permits up there, and it might not be just 40. It could be 40 just for Gerlach, and then we kind of, let's say Elko County, we do 5 or 10 for the draw, something like that.
So you don't foresee that by adding this, you're going to, say, a Utah guide isn't going to say, oh, I'm just not going to drive across the state for that. That's so much money. I don't see that making sense. That's kind of my
Sure.
concern is we're going to dissuade pursuing lions when, some units just flat have a lion problem.
Yeah. No, I still feel confident that those guys will apply for it after seeing the numbers in Idaho. It's definitely, we have houndsmen that specifically want to draw that Idaho hound permit. And so Idaho has some of the best hunting for dogs. So it took me 5 years to draw it. I know another guy that it took 25 years. So people consistently put in for it to be able to have the opportunity to run there. And so I really don't want to have to go back to unit quotas, just because how lions move so much, but we feel that the hound permit will still be able to keep us statewide and then forcing guys to go into new areas. And honestly, ultimately, to help out with your guys' lion problem, if there was some way to get deprivation lion tags, I personally would kill more, but I can only kill one per year. With me hunting by myself a lot, you can't get someone to come with, over 100 days a year. It's just not possible. Most people don't have the opportunity to be able to go hunt that much. So we need more ways to help you guys as houndsmen. And so I don't know how hard it is to get deprivation permits approved for resident houndsmen, but that would be something you guys should definitely look at in the future.
So what you just said, it's kind of piqued something. So you struggle with being able to run dogs for that 100 days. So I'm curious, just because you only get one tag. So I'm curious, and just for my knowledge, is how open are houndsmen to the exercise is running the dog, right? So how open are houndsmen to running people that just want to go kill a lion? So say I've never killed a lion, I want to go kill a lion. I don't want to pay a guide necessarily, but
Sure.
I've got you saying that this is something that really the dogs need because they need that to run, right? How does somebody? I mean, that seems like that would also be an alternative. Is if it was more open to, hey, I need to run my dogs. I'll take a friend, I'll take, a new hunter, somebody who's never done it before, whatever.
Sure.
How open are houndsmen to that?
It depends on the houndsman. Some guys like to hunt by themselves. I've personally taken quite a few people. I love seeing someone get their first lion. It's awesome. And so I feel we'll still take people, being able to go help them under our dogs. And a lot of people do it for free. And especially with the bears, since there's only so many bear tags and we can't always go run bears all the time. So a lot of people still go donate their time, and I still want that all to happen. So.
One last question I had, and it was on the PowerPoint. I may have read it wrong, but are you guys proposing a specific season for this also?
We'll follow the lion season for the hound permit. So it'll start March 1st.
So it'll just be annual, the calendar? Okay.
Yeah, for the entire year. Okay. Depending on if you guys want to run it during the main draw, I think that would be easiest, That's similar how Idaho is. It's when you draw it, it's a few months out before you can even actually go and pursue. So, but after really diving into this all, after finding out you only need one lion tag per truck, I do think that's something. We're still out there catching game, and it's not fair that I have to have a tag and a license by myself. So why aren't we having these other guys? So a lot of this stuff has brought a lot of really good public comment, and then also talking to all the different cab members. So it would be an awesome tool to be able to force guys to go to new places, so while leaving it open for residents to be able to go where they want. So.
Any more comments?
I want to talk publicly with you,
Yeah.
Okay, come forward, state your name, please.
Yeah, hello, I'm Pete Olson, a lifelong resident. I've been running dogs for about 10 years, and I just like to put my support behind this. I think there's some good advantages to it. And I think it gives the state some ability to manage where guys are hunting, like in those problem areas.
Take it a little closer to the microphone. Thank you.
Give guys, some opportunity to manage where those guys are hunting, get them to some problem areas. On Cody's point, we get 2 lion tags a year, and once I kill my first one, I'm never going to kill a second one, because if I do, I'm done hunting for the year. So some depredation tags or something like that. And me personally, I would kill more, and if I had the opportunity, and we do bring a lot of family members and people who want to go, but a lot of people's schedules aren't available. Hey, it's snowing tomorrow. You want to go? No, it doesn't happen that way. So, yeah. So, I don't know if you guys have any questions. You guys, Cody answered them all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Casey Nelson. I'm 52. I started running dogs in Nevada when I was 16 years old. So I've seen it for a lot of years. And it's gotten to where there's so many of them that my daughters run dogs too, that they have. My experience is the California border, where they have problems with guys trying to bully them, intimidate them. So my kids don't even like to hunt the border no more. We haven't hunted the border for almost 4 years because of these issues we have on the border. No, not all the guys are that way, but a lot of them are. And I have young guys that live in our state don't want to run dogs because they'll go with me once or twice and we'll see 15 guys from California during bear season. And for them to get started into this game, you gotta hope you can catch a lion. If you go out with me and I got trained dogs, I've been doing it for 30 plus years, and I'm having trouble finding a track because I'm competing against so many guys. And I hunt a lot at night. I leave at 7 o'clock at night and I hunt until daylight to beat the guides, to beat the other competition. For me, the border, it used to be great. I used to have friends that come over from California, and it was a great time. It's gotten to the point now to where I don't go to the border because it's just not worth it to me. I quit hunting bears. I finally drew the bear tag, and I didn't go that year because I got in a fist fight with a guy over whose country it was. And it's not my country, it ain't nobody's country. First guy there, it's his country. But it's gotten to the point to where I don't even want to hunt on that side of the state. And I used to live from Carson City to Pahrump. I hunted that continuously. I guided for a lot of years. I quit guiding. I think it's been 17 years ago I quit guiding. I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to do it for fun. I take my daughters. We kill a lot of lions because we have 4 kids. Each of them have 2 tags. I have 2 tags. My wife has 2 tags. I'm a little different than the rest of them. I hunt a lot of sheep country, so I kill a lot of lions. If we catch them and they're legal, they fall out of a tree. That's how we do it. But you get into where you're having competition to where you're trying to teach young guys how to get into this. It's not fun. Nobody wants to do it. I haven't had a young guy come to me in over 3 years wanting to learn. And I've taken a lot of guys and I've started a lot of guys. So I think this hound permit would be a great thing for us. And Idaho, I put in for Idaho for 12 years. I've never drawn it. I quit putting in about 3 or 4 years ago for the Idaho permit. Utah's the same way. I have a lot of guys now that are starting to call me in the last about 3 months because it's open season or like coyotes. So they're already starting to pick my brain. Hey, we know you don't hunt over here. Can you tell us where to go? Well, I don't want to tell them because I do have friends that live over there. I have friends that live in Jarbidge. I've been in Jarbidge where we've hunted lions, and as they start in the Nevada side, and the Idaho guys are competing against us. That's fine. Well, once our lions move out of Jarbidge, they pop into Idaho. We're done. We can't hunt. The Idaho guys, they just keep on hunting, so they can hunt a lot longer than we can. To where I think it should be, if you can go into my state, I should be able to go into your state. I used to hunt bears in California. I'd catch 30, 40 bears a year. In California kicked me out. I can't go to California with my dogs. I'll get in so much trouble. They say, oh, you can go run pigs. Well, you better have a private ranch. So they're and then another thing you come into is these guys are coming over here killing lions, and I don't know what the law is on this, but what are the guys from California doing with them? They all come over here, and I see them all lion hunting and talking about catching cats and stuff. Well, it's illegal to even take a hare back into California. So I don't know what they do with them. I don't know what the deal is. But I see a lot of guys dragging lions off the hill. They're all California plates. And I guess you can just tag them. I don't think there's ways to want a lion, throw them away, I guess. But it's really disturbing. I like his idea of pushing them into units where nobody hunts. I hunt year round. When they're out there on Fairview and all that stuff, lambing, I'm out there. I got cameras up, checking when I'm off work, trying to catch lions. When you're dry grounding, you might catch one a summer. It is not easy unless we have a kill. If you could push these guys into more of those areas where you guys are having problems, because I'd rather kill lions than have a trapper come in with snares and wipe a range out. That's how I look at it. A lot of guys don't like me because I kill a lot of cats. If I catch them, we kill them. That's just how I was raised. And so I think if you could force these guys into more areas to where the sheep are, That's my, I hunt around the sheep a lot. That's just how I do it. And to where they could go in and hunt where those sheep are at and say, okay, you can kill your lions in there. I think that's a good idea. But that's about all I have to say unless you guys have a question or anything.
Thank you.
Jesse Ladden for the record. I'm not a lion hunter. It seems to me this petition revolves around self-policing. Sportsmen are trying to self-police themselves, and if it generates some revenue for the department at the same time, I can't argue with that, so I would urge you to support the petition. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Does the committee have any other comments? Oh, okay, sorry. I looked down.
Sorry. Hi, my name's Lance Gomes. I'm a resident of Fallon, dairy farmer.
You turn your microphone on, please.
There we go.
My name's Lance Gomes. I'm a resident dairy farmer. Been farming my whole life here in this town. I think I'm sixth generation. My family's always had a lot to do with hunting around this valley, especially around the valley. I did recently start looking at this initiative, and I believe that it is a good initiative. I think it's a great idea to start pushing guys around into certain areas that obviously need it more. We keep talking about northern Washos. I know I talked to the government trapper. I think he said they killed something like 30-something lions last year just on Granite Peak alone. There is an overabundance of lions in especially northern Washoe, and if we were allowed, we are limited by the number of tags that we have. If I was not limited by that, yes, I would go out there a lot more. For those reasons, I think that this is a good initiative to pass. Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Does the board have anything else to say?
Well, actually, I'm in favor of this petition going forward through the commission to establish, it looks to me like quite a number of regulations to implement it, but I'd like to see the petition at least accepted by the commission, and I'll vote that way. I do have a couple concerns, and probably my number one concern is adding another permit to the residents. I have no problem with requiring permits, regulations, quotas to the non-resident hunters, because it sounds like that's where the problem is, not the resident hunters, houndsmen. I look at this, I think would need a little clarification. Being a bobcat trapper, most bobcat trappers in Nevada, or a good percentage of them, do use dogs to locate their critter that's on a drag somewhere up in the cliff somewhere. And to think that this permit could be expanded to require a trapper who has his trap dog with him to have an additional permit besides all the permits. We already have $40 permit for the license and $5 CITES tags. And so I think there's things that need to be cleaned up and more clarified. But except for that, I would recommend that we do recommend to the commission they accept the petition. So that would be my motion at this time, that we recommended the Board of Wildlife Commissioners to accept
Before you
Nevada hound hunters permit support.
So before we vote, I am kind of curious now that the Bobcat thing does kind of pique some questions, because Bobcats can't be taken by non-residents anyways. So it does feel like that's kind of an interesting inclusion into this, because they can't take Bobcats anyways. So I guess having that on this, it does bring up that question, are we then adding fees to trappers that I don't know necessarily need to be there? So I guess kind of what's the thought, if you can comment on that, I'm curious kind of what the thought is behind that.
So, Cody Knight for the record. So originally, our concern was just the houndsmen pursuing bobcat with hounds. I do know a few people that do try and locate their traps with dogs. So you do bring up a valid point that we could remove it from there if that's going to make things more complicated. Most houndsmen that are pursuing bobcats are pursuing lions too, for the most part. So I would be fine with removing that.
I think that's the one thing that would catch me up. Outside of that, again, I'm a little leery just because of the predation issues and limiting any access to that. I do understand the zones make sense if we can push that pressure into the zones that's needed. I guess, is that going to be a department decision on where those zones go? I'm assuming this is, well, you said you've been working on it about a year?
Yeah. As far as interviewing houndsmen, sportsmen.
Okay. So it's still relatively new in the process as
Yes,
far as, okay,
it
so I'm
definitely
assuming
is.
it's gonna go workshop or something at
That's
some
what we
point.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess those types of adjustments we would make at
Mm-hmm.
that time. Okay. I'll go ahead and second the motion for hound hunting permits.
Any further discussions? We have a motion and a second to recommend the petition for establishing a hound hunting permit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Next item, consideration and possible action, fiscal year 2025 predation management plan, amendment number 1 to alter funding distribution between existing projects.
Speaking of mountain lions.
Well, I think after the last time we discussed this, they have made 2 amendments, proposed amendment, taking money away from 2 of the lesser projects and putting them more into the lethal control.
It does look like
Yeah.
the addition to project 37 is, that's an increase of $100,000. That's a pretty big increase.
37, if
That's the lions.
I did review that.
10 lions?
Said 10 lions with our cost.
These big game protection mountain lions.
Yeah. Ooh, but they saved $60,000 on coyotes, so that's good. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the predation management amendment number 1.
Any further discussion? There being none, we have a motion and a second to approve the predation management plan amendment number 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Next item, consideration and possible action, final draft of the fiscal year 2026 predation management plan.
So project 21 looks like now it's raven removal. Am I reading that right? It's raven removal now, not raven studying.
Yeah, they haven't done the study for a couple of years. It's been lethal.
Well, I bring this up at every meeting. I'm going to bring it up again. I would really like to see some data that reflects their results on these, because we're approaching $1 million on this, and it's been going on for 15, 16 years. I mean, I say that at every meeting, so I'll say it again now, and then we can vote.
Any comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve draft fiscal year 26 predation management plan.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? There being none, have a first and second motion to accept the final draft of fiscal year 2026 predation management plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Consideration and possible action discussion of coyote hunting contests.
I want to see where they've come up with two alternatives for the commission to make a choice. And the first is would require individuals that are participating in coyote hunting contests to hold a valid hunting license or trapping license. Alternative two would require the individuals organizing coyote hunting contests to obtain a permit from the department prior to holding the event. And so this is, to me at least, the first time I've seen where they had two alternatives. So this has been real controversial at commission meetings and elsewhere.
They're also wanting to establish a season? Did I read that right?
Yes, September 1 through, I'd have to look at it again.
Well, I mean, if it's September 1,
Yeah.
now we're putting people,
Well, that's when most of them are held anyway, but
it's big game seasons though too. Like we're adding,
yeah, let's see. September 1 to March 31st.
oh, go back up to that. Sorry. Where it's blue. 6 demerit for conducting a coyote hunting contest without a permit.
That's if alternative 2 is enacted. Because there'd be no permit if alternative 1.
And hunting without having procured a license, 6 demerits. I guess I'm curious where I know where it's coming from, but why? I think this is a real slippery slope. I think if we start implementing more and more regulations on things like this, it's just going to lead to it getting stopped. I don't support this regulation in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I think it's silly that it's just trying to appease a specific constituency, and at some point, sportsmen have to be able to stand up and say, we need to stop just giving up what we're allowed to do because somebody doesn't like it. I get it, but it's just, we've got to stop adding more and more and more regulations.
Well, this issue's been before the legislature 2 different sessions, and both times it was defeated. It's gone before the commission several times, Fish and Wildlife Commission several times. And where this actually developed, I don't know. I have never heard who first said, okay, let's do it, let's try it again. But I totally agree with you. It's the coyote is a non-protected
Yeah, it's
species in Nevada.
non-protected, so
Yeah.
I can go and shoot it without a license, but now you're gonna penalize because I wanna participate in a coyote contest because somebody doesn't agree with this.
With contest.
With the contest, so now if I have to go buy a license on an unprotected species, or I face fines and punishments and demerits against my license, I'm gonna make a motion to oppose the regulations proposed for coyote hunting contests.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? There being none, we have a motion and a second to not agree with the
Propose, yeah.
discussion of the coyote hunting contest regulations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of possible action biennial big game release plan fiscal years 2024-25, amendment number 4.
Jason, do you have any weigh in on this since they're putting sheep in your unit? Or wanting to?
Oh, I didn't know they're even considering my unit. That's
The
I think
Clan-
it's just
Clan Alpines, right?
Tobin's and Cortez.
Clan Alpine's also.
Oh, they threw Clan Alpines in there, and I'm supportive.
And Stillwater. I mean,
They're also taking 50 to Utah, it looks like.
it's same with Lake Mead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve big game release plan fiscal year 2025 and 2026.
Any further discussion? There being none, we have a first and a second to accept the biennial big game release plan for fiscal years 2024-25, amendment number 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Next item, Commission Regulation 25-12 regarding 2025 black bear quotas and harvest limits.
It doesn't look like there's a change. I'll make a motion to approve black bear quotas.
Any further comments? There being none, we have a first and second motion to accept the Commission Regulation 25-12 regarding 2025 black bear quotas and harvest limits. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Consideration of possible action, Commission Regulation 25-13, big game quotas for the 2025-2026 season.
Jason, do you have anything to weigh in on that?
Microphone.
It's whatever you guys want to know, I guess. Antelope are doing well. Deer are doing decent enough. Sheep are so-so. 183 is doing really decent, coming back from the die-off from 2019. 184 seem like it's doing pretty decent too, number-wise, and sheep. And I do believe that some of the Fairview sheep and that 2 winters ago actually moved over. Some of them did move over to the Desert Toyas in that winter event never returned. 182 is still struggling. Sheep numbers and that. When Stillwater's had a pretty good base population, it could withstand the lion predation and that. Last year we did implement lion removal in the Clan Alpines and Stillwaters, using Wildlife Services. Some of the places that they couldn't go because of the wilderness study areas and ECECs, we were forced to go into different areas. And so I think we removed like 7 out of the Stillwaters, then we removed 3 out of the Clan Alpines. I have additional lions to remove out of units 205 and 181. And then the funding became unavailable, or we were in the hole, and so we had to pull Wildlife Services out of my unit groups. And some of the push with some of it was where we removed 1,500 horses out of the Clan Alpines, the BLM did. And then we did remove 4,000 something horses, some of it on the northern end of the Stillwaters, and then a lot of the stuff in Area 4. And so I wanted some additional lions removed for the biomass that we removed. But some of the lion contract with the Project 37 has changed, where we might be able to use different means. There's just not a lot of contractors right now that have gone through the state process, because I think it's a little bit cumbersome. And somebody had told me that it's like on an annual review of like every 4 years or something. I don't know if somebody can just become a contractor tomorrow. They might have to wait a period of time. So right now, I think we only have Wildlife Services for some of the work, and then like 2 contractors right now, one based out of Eureka and one based out of Arizona. As far as the 2 contractors can operate in wilderness study areas, ACECs and stuff, where Wildlife Services doesn't have the NEPA agreement to operate in a lot of those places. So 181 is everything this year did well as far as lamb production. I think Stillwaters, we had a lamb ratio of 40. Clan Alpines, we had a lamb ratio like 47. So these are some of the higher ratios we've had in a long time since the die-off. Tobin's, I think, was in the 50s or 60s. The places that are still struggling, Fairview's lamb ratio is single digits, most likely because of disease still kind of lingering there. And Desert Toys did have a hiccup 2 years ago with a low lamb ratio, which could have been disease related. And then it had an okay lamb ratio this year. But so that's the biggest thing on the landscape, is trying to get these lambs back. If we get the lambs back, then we can kind of keep the predation. It doesn't impact us as bad. But when we have like a unit 205 where we've had single digits for the last 3 years, and we always had a healthy lion population in 205. And it's the same as what happened on Fairview. We have enough lions there with a small adult population of ewes and rams, and it can whittle adult population down to nothing over a couple of years, where you might have to look at augmentations in the future just to even regain your sheep, or look at opportunities to try to remove the lions to try to give you some breathing room for them to populate again. So we still got some floating disease issues out there for sure, which is kind of causing some issues, especially for the sheep. The antelope seem like they're doing well enough. They had pretty good production last year, and I raised the population estimate up last year, but kind of still modeled down a little bit for the observed bucks I actually saw, but the harvest has been 88%. So it's, people are finding the antelope and seeing them and hunting them. And so I did have kind of a semi-tag cut just because I went to what I observed in the model and that, but then I kind of went back and with the 88% success and the averages, it seems like it's doing well enough to support similar tag quotas of what we had last year. So, in deer, people are starting to figure out the deer in Churchill County. It was kind of one of those places that locals would hunt, know their little spots and that, and get deer. And then if somebody didn't know the unit, you know, we'd be 29 to 34% success rate. And so you could issue, you know, a decent amount of tags without, you know, not impacting the herd much. And you know, with all the different weapon classes and that, you're looking about probably 100 dead bucks or whatever on a yearly basis. Last year, the last couple of years have been bumping up. So like last year's overall, like hunter harvest on any legal weapon was like 49%. And so that's just unheard of. I mean, there's more deer out there to be had, but I think people are starting to figure out kind of where to hunt that, and it has increased the success. So some of that, there is a little bit of a, on my any legal weapon hunt, I did have a reduction in tags compared to last year. And a lot of it's due to the 3-year averages and of the hunter success kind of increasing. But I don't know, anything else, if you have any questions.
No, that provided us with a lot of information. Thank you, Jason.
Okay, we need to take a look at each one of the quotas by species and make a recommendation to accept it or not. The first one here is resident antelope, horns longer than ears, any weapon.
I'll make a motion to approve the antelope quota. I did see Area 17's quotas relatively low. Seems like there's a lot of antelope out there.
Yeah, it's probably underestimated. Maybe.
Well, I think we have a second.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, didn't hear you, Audrey. Any further discussion? There being none, we have a first and second motion to accept the antelope quotas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Can we do these in blocks?
That's what I'm trying to do, Jason. Okay, we have resident junior antelope, horns shorter than ears, any legal weapon?
I'll make a motion to approve all antelope quotas.
All, okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next one is resident elk antlered.
I'll make a motion to approve all elk quotas as proposed.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? There being none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I think sheep's next.
Okay, next one is Desert Bighorn sheep quotas.
I'll make a motion to approve all sheep quotas as proposed.
I second.
Any further discussion? There being none, we have a first and second motion to accept all sheep quotas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Next one is,
Should be mountain goat.
mountain goat, yeah. Mountain goat,
I'll make a motion to approve mountain goat season as, or quotas as proposed.
second.
I second.
Any further discussion? There being none, we have a first and second motion to accept all mountain goat quotas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item is mule deer.
I'll make a motion to propose all mule deer quotas as proposed.
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Last year, there was, say, we're talking just antlered, all weapons, about 4,600 tags approved. This year, the recommendation is around 7,000. On social media, that's caused a firestorm when they see those kind of, what, a 60, 70% increase. Is it true that 4,600 is what the commission established last year, not what the biologists recommended? Is that?
Yeah, so the 2024 quota approved is, you actually should have 3 columns there because it kind of give people an idea of what the department recommended and then what quotas went up or which quotas went down, which most of them went down, and then what we're recommending again this year. So when you see a lot of the Elko County quotas, last year I think they went, I think Elko County Cab wanted a 50% cut on the quotas that were presented to them, and then the commission somewhere went into like 35% or something, or 25% cut, and so that's where they went. For all the Elko County units, 6, 7, 10, and all that, they cut it straight across, I think 35%. And then this year, they're just working up on the buck ratios, I guess, that bucks that made it through the winter. It was a mild winter. We had pretty good fawn to adult ratios in that. And And so that's what they're looking at for those buck ratios. And I think some of the buck ratios are still probably inflated on their models as far as being above 30 bucks per 100 does, because if they went down to 30 in some of the units, even though a majority of a lot of those deer probably in some of those units in 10 and 6 and that and 7, the majority of them are 2-year-old and less bucks, causing that buck ratio to probably be, higher. The mature buck segment, some of them I'm sure are there, but it's a lot of a younger age class for sure. And so that's what some of them might be at 30, but some of them are elevated above that. And then you have alternative units where they keep them all the time elevated at 45 bucks per 100 and that. But that's why you see some of these big increases. So like last year, if I don't have it in front of me, but I bet you it was, if you're saying it's 7,000 this year,
7,099.
I would guess that we were probably high 5,000s or 6,000s last year as far as what we were
Well, that's what I could
recommending.
find from looking at last
And there was
year's
quite a
data.
bit of unknowns a little bit last year, because the year before we had that winter and what was really left from the winter and stuff. And so they're still trying to, I think, try to piece it together and figure out what's actually out there right now.
In a way, it's kind of too bad that this data, to the average person, is just going to think, boy, the department thinks the herd has doubled because the quotas have nearly doubled. When in reality, it's not that far from what the department recommended last year versus what the commission passed. So I have, realizing that I have less problem with some of these increases than I did just looking at the figures.
Okay, do we have a second on the mule deer quotas?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. I am looking for the moose.
Moose is still 2. I'll make a motion, if I can, to go ahead and just approve the moose quotas.
The what?
The moose quota,
Oh,
both of them.
We have a second?
Yeah, Aubrey
Can I
seconded.
hunt moose with a hound? Do I
Oh,
never know?
God.
Who seconded that? Jim, did you second that?
Aubrey did.
Aubrey did?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, didn't hear it again. It's too far down there. Any further discussion? There being none, we have a first and second motion to approve the moose quota. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay. Okay, the next item is
Travel budget.
travel budget for the fiscal year 25-26.
I'll make a motion to approve the travel budget.
Did you guys understand what that involved?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any further discussion? There being none, Jason made a motion and Aubrey seconded the motion to approve the 25-26 budget for the committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay. Last thing is, do we have any informational items?
I was curious, do we have any updates on the wildlife salvage permits?
I haven't seen anything on it, Jason,
No.
but we had, Pam, it seemed like at the last meeting, if I remember, another county had already sent something in.
So it was actually on the vote, right? That was in the legislature?
That I don't
Yeah,
recall.
Yes, it was. It was actually introduced both in the House and the Assembly by Democrats and Republicans to give the department instructions to establish a salvage permit for highway kill wildlife. I believe it actually started in Lyon County, even though we started, but we did send out a letter to all the counties on whether they would support us going forward with a petition to authorize the salvage of highway kill wildlife. And I believe that's where our state senator got the idea, and she actually introduced it and who's a Republican, who also got Democrats, and it was introduced as Senate Bill 215. They had two different hearings in the Natural Resource Committee. The second hearing, there was just two minor adjustments or amendments. One was to take the word deer out of there and put wildlife, so you could salvage any species. And the other was just a clerical change. It did pass out of the Senate committee. I think it was a 9-0 vote. Sent to the House or to the Assembly. It was entered into their docket last week. I've been following it. They have not scheduled a hearing in the Assembly on this. I have a hunch, since it was a bipartisan bill, it may go forward. And I think, Jason, you're the one that brought this whole subject up after you hit the deer out here on the highway.
The deer hit me.
Yeah. That we actually may have a salvage permit. Several years ago, there was a trapper cited for picking a dead bobcat off the highway, because that technically, according to Warden, was illegal methods of taking a bobcat, and he was cited for it. Well, that was a ridiculous citation to start with, but if this passes, which I think there's a good chance it will, you could salvage a kit fox, you could salvage deer, you could salvage, and will be a procedure that the department has to come up with to implement this. So. It's a good deal.
You do a little work now for less work later.
That's where at least that one is now. I think they have, in the next couple of weeks, they may have a hearing on it.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thanks, Jim. Any other questions? Anybody from the audience have any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you coming down and giving your input into the hound permit. It's good to see somebody in the audience finally. We see Jason off and on when it's time for him to discuss his area of concern, but... Huh? Yeah.
This is my last big game meeting with you guys.
Wow, where are you going?
Retirement.
What?
Really?
Haven't you been retiring for like 10 years?
Do you have 30?
Huh?
Do you have 30 yet?
I will, February.
Oh, well, we get you more than half a year left over. That's good.
Is she gonna retire?
No, she's gonna work. I'm still gonna work too. Just in Elko.
You're gonna work till it fits, huh? So you're-
I'm done with
Never
wildlife.
take over the Carson Lake.
I've had too much fun.
Okay, thanks, guys, for coming. We appreciate your input. Hope to see you at some other meetings.
How are you doing tonight? Good, how are you? Yeah.
I don't know, I think this quota thing.
Pardon me.